Have you ever met someone who walked into a room and instantly everyone noticed them? Not because they were rich, not because they were perfect, but because they believed in themselves, quietly, deeply, completely. What if I told you that kind of confidence isn't born, it's built?
He wasn't always confident. In fact, for most of his life, he was the kind of person who sat at the back of the class, never raising his hand even when he knew the answer.
He had dreams, big ones, but his mind always whispered, "You're not good enough. You'll just embarrass yourself." So he stayed silent, watched others move ahead, and told himself that maybe confidence was something other people were born with. But deep down, he wanted to change. He wanted to stand tall, speak without fear, and believe that he could actually do something great.
One day, during college, Arman's teacher announced a public speaking contest. The topic? The power of believing in yourself. Arman laughed at the irony. How could someone who didn't believe in himself talk about confidence? But that night, something strange happened. He stood in front of his mirror, whispering the first line of a speech he had secretly written months ago. And as he spoke, he noticed something. His reflection didn't look weak anymore. His voice trembled, but there was a spark in his eyes. A tiny spark that said, maybe I can do this. The next few days were a battle. Every morning his mind screamed, "You'll fail. Everyone will laugh at you." But every night he stood in front of that mirror again. He practiced, he stumbled, he started over. He spoke until the fear began to fade. Confidence, he realized, wasn't a feeling you waited for. It was a muscle you built, one small shaky step at a time. And then, the day of the competition arrived. Arman walked onto the stage. His hands were cold, his heart was racing. He could barely breathe. But then, he remembered the hundreds of times he'd practiced alone. He took a deep breath, looked at the audience, and began. A small plant grows through a crack in the ground under sunlight, representing Arman's inner growth as he faces his fear. His voice cracked at first. A few people in the crowd smiled awkwardly, but Arman didn't stop. He kept going. Sentence by sentence, his fear began to fade. He talked about how we all wait for confidence to appear, as if it's some magic gift that just arrives one morning. But in truth, it only grows when we dare to act despite fear. By the time he finished his speech, the hall was silent. And then applause. Not because his speech was perfect, but because it was real. People could feel the honesty in his words. That day, Arman didn't just win the contest. He won something far greater: belief in himself. From that day on, something changed. He stopped waiting for permission to feel confident. He began doing the things that scared him, one at a time. He started volunteering for class projects. He spoke up in meetings. He learned to accept mistakes instead of fearing them. And every time he took action, his confidence grew. Not because things always went right, but because he realized he could survive when they went wrong. He learned that confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's moving through fear. It's choosing to trust yourself, even when you have every reason not to. Today, when people look at Arman, they see a confident young man, someone who speaks clearly, walks tall, and inspires others. But only he knows how many nights of doubt it took to become that person. And that's the truth about confidence. It's not a gift, it's a choice. A choice to show up. A choice to try again when you fail. a choice to believe in your worth even when no one else does. So if you've ever looked at someone and thought, I wish I had their confidence, remember this: they weren't born with it. They built it, the same way you can. Because real confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll find a way through. A long golden pathway fading into warm light, symbolizing life's ongoing journey of growth and belief.